Hi, my name is Meagan Johnson, and I'm a generational humorist and a professional speaker. I was recently asked by a journalist with the Indy Star, why do different generations react differently to the coronavirus? And I thought this was an interesting question, and I decided to put together a multi-generational panel. And what I love about the group we have with us today is we have Jody, who is a Gen Xer, which we all know is the best generation.
That's right.
And then we have her two daughters who are both Gen Z. So Gen Z are people born between 1997 and 2012. Is that where you are, Shira?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ellie, I know you're a Gen Z. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, perfect. What's interesting about Gen Z is that not only do they sometimes get called millennials, because older people like myself, we just lump all young people. We call all the young people millennials. That's not accurate. What's interesting though is Gen Z, really this event, the coronavirus, is a significant generational signpost. And a generational signpost is an event that's really kind of a touchstone for a generation. So what's interesting now is that this is happening just right before both of you are starting your professional lives. So Shira, you and I were chatting earlier. You were in Spain, which is sort of the coronavirus hotspot. What was that like when you were in Spain, and what happened for you to come home?
I just called American and they switched my ticket, but the flight that I was on, only Americans were allowed. It was American Airlines, and they took our temperature back when we got to the States.
Did they really?
DC, yeah. So I flew to JFK on Saturday, or no, not Saturday. Monday, sorry. The dates are all mixed up. Monday, the 16th, and then they had the CDC waiting, and we were in the last row of the plane, so it took us an hour and a half to get off the plane and have them just scan our foreheads with the thermometer.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you got off the plane, was it just a crush madhouse or pretty civil, pretty organized?
Yeah, it was honestly fine because I had seen videos on social media of tons and tons of people in lines, but it was fine. We got we almost missed our next flight back to Phoenix.
Ooh.
It's because of security took a while, but other than that, it wasn't crazy. I was fine. I had time to get food before my flight and everything.
That's important.
Yeah.
Right. So, and Ellie, you being in Northern California, another hot spot for the virus.
Yeah.
And, I remember California, you guys were put on shelter in place before Arizona, where Jody and Shira and I'm located. We're in Arizona. You were put in shelter in place before we were. What was that like?
It was kind of weird because the day it happened, I think it was March 16th where they announced it would be taking place. That was my first day where my classes got canceled. Everyone else, their classes kind of got canceled before mine. And then that happened and it felt a little more real, but I didn't see many changes other than, you can't go to campus. That was pretty much the only change in my life. People were still going out, going to get their hair done, to grocery stores, which is important, but going out to restaurants to eat. And my work was still open. A lot of workplaces that I felt like should be closed because they're not essential are still open, which I think is a problem. It just made it feel a little more okay, this is a big deal. I'm gonna stay home now.
And so Jody, what was this like for you? You have a daughter in each kind of hotspot location. What was that like for you?
Well, we were really happy when Shira came home because things seemed to have sped up and seemed to be a sense of urgency. And so it's great having her home. And then I thought at some point Ellie would be joining us, but she made a choice thinking it was safer to stay. And of course we support that, but it's difficult not knowing when she'll be coming home to see her. So we're pretty lonesome for her.
And why'd you make that decision to stay, Ellie?
I was initially going to come for sure because our grandmother is recovering from surgery and I wanted to see her, but then they stopped allowing visitors and I thought that the risk of traveling and potentially putting myself and my family at risk wasn't worth it if I couldn't see my grandmother.
Okay. Now that's interesting. You bring up putting people at risk, because there are a lot of complaints in the media that the younger generation, that'd be you guys, the younger generation, you're not taking this seriously, but it sounds like talking to you, you are taking it seriously. Do you feel that your peers, that people take it seriously, or do you feel that you are an anomaly, that you're an outlier of the bell curve, that you take it seriously but your peers don't?
I think, of course, it's hard to have one answer for an entire generation, but I think most of my peers are taking it really seriously, especially on social media. I have a lot of friends who are activists and are posting a lot about, oh, it's really, really important to stay home. Like a lot of my friends posted about how it's important to not go grocery shopping yesterday or the day before, the first 2 days of the month, because that's when people's food stamps are renewed, and trying to make sure that people who need food and can't find it get the resources they need.
What are you, both of you, Ellie and Shira, what are your expectations of your parents or the older people in your life? What are your expectations of them during this time period?
I kind of want to see the older people in my life speak out about it more. I feel like with social media, my generation and the younger generations are taking it upon themselves to speak out, and it's not just issues like the virus, but political issues, environmental issues. I follow a lot of accounts on like feminism and stuff like that, and it's all young people posting because I feel like they are more exposed to social media, but the people in power don't really listen to young people. There's kind of this idea that if you're younger than me, you're dumber than me, which I don't really like. But I would like to see my parents and other older people in my life speak about it, because I think people in power will be more likely to listen to them.
But I feel like with Gen X, that's what you guys are?
That's what we are, yeah.
I feel like with Gen X, definitely, I think they have been doing a good job about speaking out, from what I've seen through Facebook, and just I feel like parents in general, like I've heard from friends, like their parents have been saying, and my parents have been saying, like, you guys really need to take this seriously. And I also think that in general, sometimes people, especially, I don't know, my parents are getting like pretty caught up in the news. So I try to limit myself to like 10 to 15 minutes a day. The news. I mean, I want to stay educated, but I think that watching the news constantly and every time there's, oh, breaking news, it's like, is that really breaking news?
Has Shira, Ellie, have your outlooks regarding the future, have they changed since the virus?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, this summer I'm supposed to work at a summer camp that I've worked at for the last 3 years and gone to as a child, and that's really nerve-wracking thinking about that. And a lot of kids, that's their safe haven, so thinking about how that could impact the campers that I work with is really scary.
Government response, for sure. I feel really let down by how the federal government has responded. I feel like this whole situation has just shown that money is valued over safety and the people in this country, which I've kind of always thought, but at this point it's kind of like, are you serious? You're not gonna do anything else? You're gonna prioritize making money over your own people? I just feel really let down. I know there are a lot of businesses definitely not essential. They are not providing employees with safety protection. They're not really cutting hours. They're asking their employees to come in, not offering a paid leave, putting them in danger. And a lot of these people don't have any other option, because if they don't work, often it's in the service industry, they can't work from home, they don't have an income. So they have to put themselves and others in danger every day because their corporation isn't offering them enough benefits to be able to live without going to work.
Okay. Shira?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I have quite a few friends that I've met at the camp I work at across the globe. And so I was talking to some of my friends from England, Colombia, and Israel and Spain. And it's just crazy to see their perspective on the United States versus what their country is doing. They're all like, you guys are not, the government is not acting accordingly. Although we are in a very fearful time, it's okay to, you should try to be positive as much as you can. Feel the fear and feel that emotion and recognize it. But at least for me, I've been really trying to look at what good could come out of this. And I mean, obviously this is a terrible, terrible thing to happen, but I'm trying to be positive just because I'm a positive person and look at things in that perspective as well.
That's interesting. So you're interesting you brought that up. So what good that come out of it? What do you feel that's good that can come out of this?
I mean, family time. People are getting to spend a lot more time connecting with their families. I feel that way about you. So with their families and pets, people are getting to explore new hobbies. I know a lot of friends of mine have been taking up painting, sewing, and I think just, more of learning about yourself in this situation and how you can grow. Maybe you've been struggling on something with your mental health, anxiety, and how you can really take this situation and think about it more, even though it does cause more anxiety. But I don't know, just looking at your mental health state more, being able to focus on that, and family, creativity. I think overall, I don't want to minimize what's going on, but I think that we can look at positive outcomes.
Okay. Ellie, what do you see any positive outcomes from this?
Yeah, I think this whole thing has shown that we were really not ready for something like this to happen. So I hope that after this, now that we know that stuff like this can happen these days, we put some things in place to make sure that everything doesn't fall apart if it does happen again, because that's kind of what seems to be happening now.
Yeah.
One other aspect really quickly is that something I've noticed is this is global. People understand that this is happening to everyone. And sure, every country has differences. Every people of all ages and communities have differences, but this is something that applies to everybody. And so in a way, it could bring people to see we're all human. We're all going through this, and we might as well stand in it together and advocate for what's right together, despite our differences in politics, in views, in community, country, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Jody, any positive things and outcomes?
I can't find any.
That's an extra for you.
And when people make positive posts, I delete them right away.
Oh, come on.
We don't agree, but
We can agree to disagree.
yeah.
Okay, but we have to end this on a lighter note.
Okay.
I want to know, what is it the one thing, so when I believe that there will come a day when we'll be released from our homes, we'll be able to go do things. What's the first thing that you're going to go do or go buy or go experience? What are you going to do when you are allowed to leave your home and move around freely? Ellie, what are you going to do?
Oh, I'm first. I'm going to go to a park.
You go to a park? Okay.
Yes.
And like go to the park on your own? Go to the park with other people?
If I can find someone to go with me. Sure.
All right. Ellie's going to a park. All right, Shira?
Well, I want to get a big group of friends together somehow and just have a huge party. That'd be fun.
Well, good. I'll wait for my e-bike.
Yes, for sure. Just
Jody, what are you going to do?
I'd like to go to eat in a restaurant, and I'd like to go back to work at my office.
I'm talking to Shira, Jody, and Ellie Kodem. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's happy hour here. Cheers. Everybody.
Cheers.
Yay. Thanks very much. I'm Meagan Johnson, generational humorist, professional speaker. I look forward to seeing everybody next week when we discuss further generational issues. Bye.